Hey guys, so this is the next part of our kicking within the red belt phase test that we're going to review. So again, we're going to go through stationary and combination kicking, jump kicks, and flying kicks. So this is going to break down everything that is on your red belt phase test paper so that way you understand exactly what it is that you need to build upon and how to do it. So starting off with stationary and combination kicking, chambering and re-chambering, okay? So it's important to make sure that with every kick that you do, you get your chamber high and tight. So if I'm doing a front kick, I'm gonna go to the side here. I've gotta get my knee up high, but it's also gotta be tight. After I kick it, it's gotta come back to this point before it goes down. Now, here's some of the things that we don't pick up on, and recording yourself is a really good way to make sure that you're doing this. Sometimes when we go into a kick, it doesn't come up high, we swing it up, okay? So this would be called a rising kick. So here, as opposed to getting it here first and then letting it come out. Same thing for the re-chamber. So sometimes we'll see this and we'll see the kick, but then it kind of drops down. So instead of re-chambering it, the leg just drops. So again, this is a little tiny detail, but it's very important. High, tight chamber, kicking it out, re-chambering it back tight. That's gonna help you get your balance so you go back into a solid stance every single time. Foot positioning, okay? So again, these are all the little details that you already know. Front kick is ball the foot. So we gotta have our instep straight and our toes curled back. Knife edge, so side kick, it's the side of my heel that is leading. So if I'm doing it this way, okay, the side of my heel is leading, the toes are completely pulled out of the equation, okay? So here, so the heel, side of the heel, excuse me, is leading. Now that knife edge is on 3 kicks. You have the side kick, which I just demonstrated. It's also the ball, the foot round kick. So the chamber is different. The foot positioning is the same. So I have a knife edge, I bring my chamber back behind me, and then it swings out. But again, if you took a picture at the end of this, it would look just like a side kick. I'm striking with the ball of the foot on that one. And last one is the reverse kick. So again, now instead of having it sideways, my goal is to get my foot angled downwards. So when I lift it up and I push it back, my foot is angled down to the ground, but I still have my knife edge on it. So again, it's angled downwards on that reverse. Round instep, instep is straight. So I'm flattening out my foot. Again, the chamber comes back behind, and then from here it swings out, but my foot is flat. So again, from here, it's straight out. So my foot is flat. Non-striking foot, grounded and pivots. So grounded is the very first part. This is another very small nuance, but we got to pay attention to it. If I'm throwing a front kick, watch this foot, okay? It does not move. It stays right there. That's grounded, okay? What happens is if I really want to get it high and I'm not super flexible, I'll take a little step and then I'll throw my kick out, okay? We've got to watch that. That foot's got to stay grounded the entire time. Here's the second part to it. Again, if you're not super flexible, this is usually when it comes into play. But again, if I want to get my front kick up really high, what I'll do, watch this foot, is lift up, okay? I want to make sure that that foot stays planted the entire time, okay? Second part is pivoting. So most kicks you're going to pivot on other than the front kick, okay? So side, round kicks, and reverse kick, you have to pivot in order to get your chamber correct for the kick. So if I'm doing a side kick, even if I'm doing it with my front leg, so I'm going to do a side kick this way with my front leg here, this foot, as I chamber, has to pivot, okay? So I'm pivoting it. When you pivot, it's on the ball of the foot, okay? So to make it super obnoxious, okay, let's see, I'll do it this way. Hopefully that helps you see it. Okay, as I chamber up here, okay, one more time. So my back foot, as it comes up here. So that non-kicking foot has to pivot. And again, ball the foot and pivot. Combinations, okay, so I need to make sure that I'm setting up for whatever kick I want to fire next. So this is something, not only do we work in class, but also in sparring. So if I want to fire a front kick into a round kick, I need to set myself up in order to be successful for it. So if I do my front kick, I know for a round kick, I have to pivot in order to give a successful kick. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to put this foot down and I'm going to turn it, okay? I turn it this way because now my hips, instead of facing this way after I throw my front kick, my hips are now rotating this way, which is going to make me throwing that round kick from the back leg a lot easier because I set myself up. So think about whatever kick you're firing next and how your foot needs to be moved and how your hips need to be in order to fire it. Delivery trajectory to start off with, okay? So trajectory, so with a side kick, the trajectory is going directly stomping out to the target. So again, if the camera is my target, I've got to make sure that my knee comes up and I'm pushing my heel straight out at the camera. So I'm working two muscles here and here in order to get my kick to go that way. Again, sometimes what happens is instead of here, it goes here, right? So now my kick's out that way. So I miss my trajectory here. I've got to get it to go that way. So in order to do that, I've got to make sure that I'm pushing and I'm getting both muscles working at the same time. Another one is a round kick. If I don't turn my hips enough, if I don't pivot enough, there's a lot of little details that go into it. I've got to make sure it's going through the target this way. So if I don't get my body turned enough, sometimes it'll swing upwards like this. I want to get it going through this way. In order to do that, I've got to get my leg up high enough and get that pivot in order to get that kick going directly through the target. Next one, within the delivery is the follow through. Really what follow through comes through is your extension of your kick. So I want to make sure that on all kicks that I fire, my leg is straightening out and extending out the kick. So if I'm doing a front kick, I don't want it to just go here where my knee is still bent, then pull it. I want to get that leg to pop. It should straighten out. Whatever kick that I'm doing, we've got to get that extension. It's got to lock out, so the follow through. Next part is body positioning. There are going to be some kicks where you are going to hunch. The challenge is to not lean, okay? So for example, if I'm doing a side kick, I want you to watch my posture. So I'm going to do this leg. As I bring that knee up, in order to get this correct, I have to pivot here. In order to keep my body positioning up, I'm going to hunch into my kick. And then I'm going to stomp down. And as you can see, I am slightly off center, but I'm very balanced within my stance. Now here's an example of the incorrect way to do it. All right. As you can see, I was very off balance. I'm leaning completely over. So again, a crunch in to that kicking leg will help keep that posture upright. Tying into that is your hands, okay? Keeping your hands up and staying balanced, all right? Can't stress that one enough. Be in a balanced stance when you fire your kicks. Last part is your attitude. Are all the kicks that you're doing spirited? Are you throwing them out hard, like you're trying to break through a board with every single one? Are you keen-eyeing loud? Are your eyes focused? Do you look intense? All of those little details play a big role into your kicks. Jump kicks is primarily going through the same thing where in regards to chambering, rechambering, foot positioning. Okay, so we've already talked about that. Non-striking leg folded. Okay, so when I'm doing a jump kick, I've got to try and get my non-kicking leg to fold up. So both knees have to come up as high as possible, and I've got to get the non-kicking leg to tuck underneath. So if I'm doing a jump front kick here, watch this back leg here. When I fire it, okay, that leg is tucking up underneath of me. It's coming up off the ground and folding. Next part, body positioning, okay? So hips turned over, head turned on reverse. So again, specifically with jump kicks, we've got to make sure that we jump high enough to get everything to happen while we're in the air. So if I'm doing a jump round kick, I've got to get my hips from facing this direction to facing this way in order to fire out a successful kick. So getting the hips to rotate over. Think about an in-place round kick, okay? And then add the jumping to it. Head turned on reverse. So if I'm doing a reverse kick, specifically the jump, I've got to make sure that my head is going around. The quicker I get that head to rotate, the easier it's going to be to get that jump and that fire out on the kick. Within flying kicks, again, everything is primarily the same, so I'm just going to address the areas that are not what we already covered. Let me see here, we already talked about delivery. Distance, okay? So within flying kicks, the challenge is with a set target, we've got to make sure we deliver to that target. For primarily the flying side and the flying reverse, you've got to really give yourself enough room to make it a flying kick. You've got to soar through the air and then stomp that kick out at the very last second. So again, distance is important. The goal is to jump far enough away that it gives you time to travel before stomping out at the target. So for flying side, what I recommend is just practicing jumping and seeing how far you can go with your knees up. So here, okay, so I made it to this line. So the next time I go, I'm going to try and go even a little bit further. So here, I was able to get further and then practice stomping the kick out at that last second. Okay, so the very last second before I'm starting to go down, that peak of the jump is when I want to stomp out the kick. With scissor front and scissor round, it's making sure that you're not super jammed up. So if I have a target right in front of me, I know that I'm not gonna be able to hit it with my foot. I've got to give myself enough room in order to be able to jump, turn, or go straight at it, okay? Jump and fire the kick out and hit the target successfully with the right part of my foot and not my knee instead. Body positioning, so hips turned over, all right? We already talked about that one. I've got to get my hips to rotate for whatever kick I'm trying to fire. Hands up and attitude. So again, attitude's key with everything that we do. Put the spirit into it. All right, guys, this covers kicking. I hope this helps.